Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
Shedeur Sanders is heading to Cleveland after being drafted by the Browns. Just much later than we expected. Also, LeBron and the Lakers now find themselves down 3-1 to the Timberwolves and was passing on Travis Hunter. Brilliance or blunder? This episode brought to you by Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K. Turn on any TV and turn it into an Xbox. No console required. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to learn more. I'm Peter Bukowski, starting your day with the can't miss stories and biggest debates in sports. You're Locked On Sports Today.
Searching all major sports. Found.
Let's start with the biggest story.
The Browns waited until the 5th round of the NFL draft to pick up Shedeur Sanders, their second quarterback of the draft. Locked On Browns host Spencer German discusses Cleveland's puzzling moves.
With the 144th pick, the Cleveland Browns select Shedeur Sanders, quarterback, Colorado, presented by LinkedIn. Here to break it down with me, it is Spencer German, the host of Locked On Browns. And Spencer, we talked about Dillon Gabriel getting drafted by Cleveland. After a bunch of controversy about where Shedeur Sanders was going to go, Cleveland double dips at quarterback, trading up for Shedeur Sanders in the 5th round. As this news comes across and you start to hear, hey, Shedeur's coming to Cleveland, what are the emotions you're going through? I mean, it must be a shock over there.
Certainly stunning from a number of angles. I think from the fan perspective, it's like, why are we taking 2 quarterbacks thing? For us in the media room, we were actually in the middle of a press conference with 3 of the 4 guys the Browns took yesterday. Quinshon Judkins, Harold Fannin Jr., and Carson Schwessinger were all in the media room sort of talking to us. So our attention all kind of gets taken away as we sort of start reporting on this news. And so I kind of feel bad for those guys. But obviously this is a major story because the headline that has dominated the draft on more of a national scale has been Shedeur slipping as far as he did. Andrew Berry talked to us a little bit after those guys left the room and basically said, like, it got to a point where, he was mispriced for the round that we were in. And so I just think they felt like it was time for somebody to pull the trigger. It's kind of funny how it came full circle. The Browns were linked to Shedeur so early in this process, even as early as number 2 overall. That didn't happen. They wait 4 more rounds and they eventually get him in the 5th, and they traded up to get him as well, using the rest of their picks on day 3. So they're theoretically done for the rest of the day. But man, like, what a wild sequence of events as Shedeur ultimately does land in Cleveland, where he was kind of rumored to be going in the first place.
What is your scouting report on Shedeur Sanders here? Why do you think that Cleveland felt they were the best spot for him? And what do you think he can bring to this offense and his outlook in Cleveland?
Yeah, so despite everything that's transpiring from the situation in terms of why he slipped and the debates on that and certainly some weaknesses in his game, I've been saying for a while now that I actually think Shedeur is like the perfect fit for Kevin Stefanski's offense. With the things he does well, super accurate, can operate an offense pretty effectively. I think he has the ability to read a defense at this point in his development. I feel good about all those things. And Stefanski's offense can be pretty quarterback friendly. It's very much like pro style, drop back, read a defense, play action, and make some throws downfield. And Shedeur has touted that his greatest trait is his decision making. And this organization throughout the draft process has said that's the number one thing they're prioritizing in the quarterback. So I thought, again, it made sense even earlier on than this. So to get him at this point does sort of feel like a steal. I guess the perplexing thing obviously is, like, why take 2? But he'll have a chance to compete with the rest of the guys in this group. It's not a star-studded group by any means. It's Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, Dillon Gabriel, and now Shedeur. And, I think the race is kind of on here to get to September and see who comes out on top.
Now, Cleveland's quarterback room, Spencer, it's looking like a general store receipt with how many guys are in that room. You obviously have Shedeur Sanders alongside Dillon Gabriel, Kenny Pickett, and Joe Flacco. Deshaun Watson also still on the roster. Now with 5 quarterbacks, how do you see this all shaking out? And does Shedeur being drafted to Cleveland change who you think starts week 1?
So I kind of, you mentioned Deshaun, and you're right, he's on the roster. I kind of keep him in the out of sight, out of mind right now category, because there's not even a guarantee he's going to play this season. So he will be here. I don't know that we'll see him at all. I don't know that he'll even get a chance to play. But as far as the other 4 guys go, it's going to be an open competition. My assumption is that somebody like Joe Flacco probably wins that job, because I don't think they're going to want to let a rookie start immediately for either of these guys. But I've been saying, I think we're going to see, probably coming into this draft process, I figured like whatever rookie they take will probably play in some capacity this upcoming season, just so we can get a sense of, hey, what's the evaluation on this guy? Where is he at in his developmental process before they get ready for next draft, where it looks like they want to find that true franchise quarterback next year, given what they did in this draft. So I still think it ends with what I said. Joe Flacco probably wins the job in the beginning of things, but I could honestly see Kenny Pickett playing at some point, or in either of the rookies playing at some point. I think what's more interesting is they're not going to carry 4 quarterbacks next year. So they'll do this through the offseason, but what does that mean for one of these guys come the end of training camp? Who's going to get the short straw? Who's going to get traded or, I guess, released and try to, sort of transfer over to the practice squad? That's the fascinating thing that I think is kind of the next phase of this conversation, because having 4 quarterbacks right now makes a lot of sense. Having 4 come the end of August is just never going to happen. So that'll be the game, the sort of matching game they have to play to sort of figure out who belongs and who doesn't on the official 53-man roster when it's all said and done.
You can stay up to date all year on the Cleveland Browns by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Browns on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. You're Locked On Sports Today. Coming up, the Lakers head back to LA down 3-1. Before we get to that, Karl Anthony Towns and the Knicks came up clutch in Detroit. There's nothing like the energy of a live game, whether it's catching a last-minute Major League Baseball showdown or soaking in the excitement of an NBA playoff game. Finding great seats, though, that used to be a challenge until Game Time. With last-minute deals, all-in prices, and the lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. Plus, ticket prices actually drop as the beginning of the game gets closer, so you can score amazing seats at a great price. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. Cunningham and the Pistons were looking to even the series with the Knicks after building a late lead in Game 4, and then Karl Anthony Towns happened.
The Knicks 94-93 beat the Pistons. I was not the most confident that they were going to pull this one out for a minute there. Detroit kind of seemed to find their second win in the second half. They were down by, I think, as much as 16 in the first half, and managed to come back and take a double-digit lead over the Knicks in the third into the fourth quarter. Jalen Brunson gets tackled by Dennis Schroeder. Not a foul, by the way, but, just gets tackled. That was pretty much allowed for most of the game, and falls on his ankle oddly, or maybe his knee. I'm still not sure which it was. They were saying ankle on the broadcast, but he came out with a big knee brace on, and that seemed like that was what he was grabbing at, was his right knee more so than his right ankle. But either way, he gets back in the game, goes bonkers to end this one, ends with in the fourth quarter, 15 points on 7 of 11 shooting. Just an absolute masterclass from him down the stretch. Just completely put the team on his back. Karl Anthony Towns, 8 points, including 2 just nonsensical shots to put the Knicks to bring the Knicks even and then take them ahead in this game. Just a magical ending to this one. Maybe not so magical for Detroit fans who are, I think, are maybe a little upset about how things ultimately ended with a no call on Tim Hardaway Jr. to end the game.
Elsewhere in the NBA playoffs, the Magic threw down with the Celtics in Orlando.
This is Philip Rossman-Reich, the host of Locked On Magic here at the Kia Center, as the Orlando Magic fall to the Boston Celtics 107-98 in Game 4, in a game that was tied at 91 apiece with 4:18, about 4:15 to go in the game. But quite simply, the Celtics showed their championship medal, and that has been honestly the big difference between the two teams in this series. The Magic are a flawed team. Obviously, they're 41-41. They're 7th in the East. They had to go through the play-in to get here, but they've proven themselves game at every single turn. They have shown that they're not going to quit. They're not going to back down from this Celtics team. team. It's just a matter of skill and the ability to execute down the stretch. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Kristaps Porzingis, Derek White, they have all been to the top of the mountain. They have all been to the finals. They've been through multiple long playoff runs together. Well, I mean, Porzingis was with them only last year, but you get the point. The Magic are still a young team. They're still a team figuring this stuff out. They're still a team that needs to take these playoff lumps, and there's no bigger lesson than a close loss to a championship team and a gut-wrenching playoff loss. This is as tough as it comes in the playoffs. This is as tough as a loss as you can take. The Magic simply just did not execute. They did not make the shots. Jason Tatum made the shots. Kristaps Porzingis made the shots in the plays. Derek White made the shots in the plays. Al Horford made the plays. It just came down to those simple plays, and the Magic didn't have them, didn't have the experience, didn't have the wherewithal, didn't have the execution to get them down the stretch. And now their season is on the line in Boston on Tuesday night.
And over in Major League Baseball, the Rangers walked off by the Giants in the most embarrassing way possible.
The Giants' hot start to the 2025 season has officially reached the point of absurdity. This is Ben Kaspick with the Locked On Giants podcast. They win today on a Little League home run in the bottom of the ninth inning with Elliot Ramos hitting a little dribbler to the pitcher and coming all the way around to score on 2 throwing errors. It was the Giants' 5th walk-off win of the season that leads the major leagues. They also had a walk-off win yesterday. They have 10 home wins and 5 of them are of the walk-off variety. They're 19-10 on the season. They gave up 2 runs in the first inning, Jordan Hicks, and as has been a theme, some early runs maybe, but then shut down the rest of the way. Hayden Birdsong was fantastic in relief, 3 scoreless innings, and this Giants team, like, they're just finding different ways to win. It's just a ton of fun when you see walk-offs like that. I mean, what better way to finally go into an off day after 17 straight games? So we'll get to break this fun series down tomorrow on Locked On Giants, where it's your team every day.
The Minnesota Timberwolves finished with a flurry, a 32-19 fourth quarter for the Timberwolves, including a late no call, and the Wolves now have a 3-1 lead after a 116-113 win over the LA Lakers. Andy Kamenetsky from Locked On Lakers joins me now. And Andy, that late no call was very much a topic of discussion on social media. JJ Redick was not happy about it after the game, but this was not a game that came down to just one call. Though, let's be honest, the officiating was, let's call it inconsistent.
You can call it whatever you want. I'd keep going. I mean, I want to make it clear, just so it doesn't seem like sour grapes. The Wolves have been the better team across 16 quarters in this series. The Wolves have consistently been a better fourth quarter team than the Lakers, and certainly were a better fourth quarter team than the Lakers in Game 4. They've been the better team. And the refs are not the reason that the Lakers lost Game 4. They were a reason, though, that it was harder for them to win. I think that is when you go through the amount of questionable calls in this game that even the commentators on ABC were acknowledging. I'll just say that if these calls have been going against the Wolves, you would be seeing NBA Twitter firing off a lot of characters about how the league very clearly wants this to go at minimum 7 games, or LeBron to go and the Lakers to get to the finals. I'll just leave it at that.
It does seem, though, difficult to understand Luka Doncic, who had 38 in this one, how a team with Luka, LeBron, and Austin Reeves could only score 19 points in a quarter, much less a fourth quarter. What do you think is holding them back from being the best? I mean, we've seen them be explosive, electric, dynamic. What is holding them back from being more consistent?
You know, it's funny, Peter. I hadn't even really thought about it until this game, but it kind of dawned on me seeing Anthony Edwards explode for yet another fantastic fourth quarter, and Julius Randle has been terrific in this series. But Randle is the only new element on this Wolves team that I think really matters significantly.
Yeah.
This core has been working together for a few years. Chris Finch has been with them for at least a couple years. Anthony Edwards is a very, very bad man, and he's been the best player in this series. But comparatively, LeBron and Luka, as great as they are as closers over the course of their career, as much as Luka, Austin, and LeBron as a trio, there's a really high upside for them with closing quarter offense, like closing minutes offense. They don't have the same reps as the Wolves had. And I hadn't really expected that to be as much of a potential thing, but I do think it has been a factor in this series.
I want to ask you about where this team can go from here, how they can get back into the series. And it starts with this anomaly in the second half where JJ Redick played the same 5 guys the entire second half of this game, which is the first time in the play-by-play era a team has done that in a playoff game. And I don't know about you, Andy, but it felt a little desperate to me.
It's funny you mentioned this being the first time it ever happened in the play-by-play era. I can't help but think about what former ESPN play-by-play color commentary guy JJ Redick might have said if he had been watching this while it happened.
Yeah.
I understand, excuse me, where JJ was going with this. Dorian Finney-Smith got the second half start ahead of Jackson Hayes, who's been very ineffective in this series, was benched to start the second half. And LeBron, Luka, Austin, DFS, and Rui Hachimura played the entire second half. I understand JJ's instinct. I did not think in real time that it was a good decision, even outside of the outcome. I think it left those guys way too vulnerable to fatigue that I think was showing itself in the fourth quarter. Fatigue often leads to bad decisions and bad execution. I think particularly with them leading at the top of the fourth quarter, you could have sat at the very least Luka, who was like 36 hours or whatever removed from food poisoning or something like that. I think you could have given him a few minutes rest with, Jared Vanderbilt, Jordan Goodwin, Gabe Vincent, 3 guys that, if nothing else, are good for defensive purposes. I think it becomes difficult to then try to let all these guys feel like they are trusted for game 5, because JJ might as well have, hired or rented out a private jet and in skywriting put "I don't trust you" above crypto.com arena. Like, I mean, I know coaches often wear their trusts on their sleeve, but this was a pretty extreme example of there's 5 of you I trust and the rest of you case by case basis. Not saying it'll prevent them from winning this series, but it is something that I think he's going to have to navigate.
Stay up to date all year on the LA Lakers by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Lakers on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. Coming up, was trading away the right to draft Travis Hunter a huge mistake? The Browns traded the number 2 overall pick to the Jacksonville Jaguars, who promptly drafted Travis Hunter. Locked On NFL host Tony Wiggins and Matt Williamson discuss whether the move was pure brilliance or a complete blunder.
I love it. I mean, it's a lot to give up. It really is. And first off, I commend the Browns because they went 3 years after the Watson trade of really getting nothing out of the draft. They come into this draft with the most draft capital in the entire draft, but I don't think they were really well equipped to throw Hunter on their team without a quarterback in place and an O-line that I really think needs revamped. I think Hunter is far and away the best prospect in this draft. If I had to put a chip down of one player that's going to the Hall of Fame, that's who I would take. And I hope for the Browns' sake, it's not, man, remember when the Browns traded away from that superstar from Otani?
They did that.
They did it.
They also did it with Julio. Remember?
Yeah, good point.
So we'll see how that worked out if we look backwards. Let me hear from Spencer.
But super quick, I love how much the Browns got in return. I mean, that's the thing.
I do.
Now, what do you do with the picks?
Absolutely. I think they did a lot.
If Travis Hunter is Shohei Ohtani, the NFL's version, this is going to look like a mistake. There's no question about it. But Travis Hunter is 5'11", 188 pounds. He wants to play both sides of the ball. It has never happened. And I don't think it's going to happen with Travis Hunter either. Not really. Not long-term. There isn't a non-quarterback who is worth the haul that the Jacksonville Jaguars paid to get Travis Hunter. Not Jamar Chase, not Nick Bosa, not Myles Garrett. Not when you don't even know what that player is going to be. Maybe those players are worth what was given up for Travis Hunter. Maybe. But maybe Travis Hunter is just a guy. Maybe Travis Hunter is what a lot of top 5 picks turn out to be. And that is fine players but not game changers. If I'm the Cleveland Browns, I'm not a Travis Hunter away from a Super Bowl. If I'm the Jacksonville Jaguars, I'm not a Travis Hunter away from the Super Bowl, which is why I don't understand this at all from the Jaguars' point of view, and why before the draft, I was going, I think I would take Abdul Carter over Travis Hunter at 2 if I'm the Cleveland Browns. And I like Travis Hunter. I like Travis Hunter a lot. I think he is an incredible offensive player. I think he could be Jamar Chase. I joked on social media that he is Ozempic Jamar Chase because he's skinny, but reminds me of that. But Jamar Chase is like 6'1", 215. He's a different build, a different body type. He can hold up playing the way that he does. Is Travis Hunter going to do that? It is an enormous risk for the Jaguars. And I get it, banking on a player. You think you're getting a guy that's going to be a starting corner and a starting receiver for you, or at least an impact player on two sides of the ball. And if you're right, it's all time. But if you're wrong, it's all time. And finally, the Pistons might still be waiting for a foul call that's never coming. In a wild Game 4 finish, Detroit's Tim Hardaway drew clear contact from New York's Josh Hart on a last-second 3, but no whistle. The Knicks escaped with a 94-93 win and a 3-1 series lead. And after the game, crew chief David Guthrie admitted, yep, they missed the call. Tough break for Detroit. As for the Knicks, they'll try to close it out Tuesday at Madison Square Garden, where, by the way, they haven't clinched a series at home in 24 years. No pressure. If you're hearing this episode after hearing your favorite Locked On show, make sure to subscribe to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. Also, if you're a new subscriber to Locked On Sports Today, we're here for you with the biggest stories in sports every day. Coming up, can Steph Curry and the Warriors grind out another win over the Rockets? So at least until tomorrow, stay locked on sports today.
Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
For more episodes of Locked On Sports Today, go to our video on demand. Click on sports at the top of your screen. There, you'll find past episodes of Locked On Sports Today, plus other Locked On shows on demand.